So the the new list came out. What is this? Yeah, I have the Duelist Grounds post up because it's easier than having like the actual list and then having to scroll through to see what's new. This is kind of concise. It just it says all the new changes. So cheers to this guy for posting it. But it's a funny list to be sure. So all the changes from the the temporary list or whatever it was called, the adjusted list, they're all still in effect. So Damage Juggler, Plushfire, Ptolemaeus are still banned. Luster, Monkeyboard, and Skullcrobat Joker, they are still at 1. No changes there. As for what's new, there are a few things that are new. So yeah, let's get right into it. You have Chicken Game banned. It was only a matter of when, and they decided when was now. All the FTK enablers get hit at some point. Could have gone to any number, but they decided no, we don't we don't want this card in the game anymore. So Chicken Game banned. I mean, just from the way it was designed, you knew that one day it would get banned. It seems that that day is today. Don't really care. Don't have too many thoughts on it. Then Wavering Eyes banned again. It's not too surprising. One of the defining Pendulum cards since its release. I mean, if they put it to 1, it would have been a bit imbalanced. Like it would have just been a sack card. There are cards that that debatably shouldn't be at 1, even though they aren't necessarily so powerful as to be banned. It's just if they're at 1, then it creates a lot more variance in terms of if one player sacks their 1 copy, it swings the game very much in their favor. So that was kind of an argument when Soul Charge was prominent as to whether Soul Charge should be at 1 or be banned, because just one player having or happening to get into their Soul Charge would polarize the game. I don't know if that's the case with Soul Charge, but I'd say that's certainly applicable to Wavering Eyes and is a fairly sound reason for banning it over having it limited, even though if it were limited, I don't think anyone would be saying, oh, this is an outrage. It definitely has to be banned. It is banned. Again, don't don't really care about that. It is what it is. Then a lot of new stuff limited. You have Wisdom Eye at 1, which is funny. The fact that pendulums are so OP in their design that a card like Wisdom Eye, which really isn't overpowered at all in terms of card design. Yeah, the fact that even this has to get hit just by virtue of how OP the mechanic is. I don't know. I think that this is the hit that will, well, I won't say it's the one that will surprise people most of all because Upstart's at 1. But this is still quite surprising. I don't think anyone was really seeing this coming. But yeah, whatever. Wisdom Eye at 1 again. I don't really care. Pendulum decks will still be a thing. Like they'll be a thing for a very long time just by virtue of the way that they're designed. The way that they're designed is so so ridiculous that even with all this on the ban list, it'll still be playable in some form or another. This just presents Pepe players with a new deck building challenge in terms of how to react to this, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But it's not a personal concern of mine. I don't play that deck. I just play against it. So Wisdom Eye to 1, whatever. It's neither here nor there for me. Norden to 1. This is interesting. I was gonna do a video discussing the merits of an instant fusion hit. Firstly, and whether to hit Norden or whether to hit instant fusion, and then from there, why that would be the case. Because I know a lot of people were saying like, oh yeah, emergency teleport's gonna get hit, and some other stuff that was on people's radar, but no one was really discussing the Instant Fusion Norden sub-engine, I guess, which is stupidly powerful, to be honest. It only hasn't been that significant because not all of the decks play it. Like Pepe plays it, Water plays it, but Water isn't that powerful outside of me using it. And Cosmo don't really play it. Like Cosmo can play it, but a lot of people don't play it, and that's understandable. It wouldn't come up on a lot of people's like, oh, I think that this should be hit discussions, but no, I think it's a very applicable hit, and I like the Thousand Eyes to 1 to kind of mitigate the Norden limit, because even now, I was discussing this with my friend a couple days ago, coincidentally, like what would happen if Norden went to 1? Would you still play 3 Instant Fusion in a deck where Norden is at 1, even if you just had to run a generic level 4 as an extra deck target, or I don't know, even Ignister Emerald or something? And it depends on the deck, but for the purposes of our discussion, which was to do with Water, the answer was yes, because it is just, even just resolving 1 Norden is so powerful, and there are times where just getting a level 4 will be completely fine. But the Thousand Eyes limit complements the Norden limit quite well, because now you can still play Instant Fusion. You have 2 good Instant Fusion targets in Norden and Thousand Eyes. It's just that they're both very different in that Thousand Eyes, its level isn't going to be applicable for a lot of Exceed or Synchro plays. It is just a bit of little removal. You're paying 1,000 to take a monster of theirs. So now Instant Fusion can serve as a free Exceed or Synchro with Norden, or it can serve as removal in Thousand Eyes or Panzer Dragon, which is pretty interesting. I'm curious to see how that influences people's deck building and their decisions. For Water, again, I think that you still should be playing 3 Instant Fusion, just based off my initial thoughts, even with Norden at 1. Even if you just played 1 Norden, it would still probably be worth playing 3 Instant Fusion. And I think that might be the case for a number of decks. It will be interesting to see how people adjust based on this. You might see 2 Instant Fusion with just the 1 Norden, and they kind of hope to not draw the second, or the full 3 with 1 Norden and another target, either Thousand Eyes, or if their deck is compatible with Panzer Dragon, you'll see Panzer Dragon anyway, or just a generic level 4 fusion, like Carbonella Warrior or something, if that is if that is the way it wants to go. But I think it's an interesting hit and not an unwarranted hit for sure. So this I like the Norden Thousand Eyes combo. And then you have Ignister to 1, completely understandable. It is one of the most powerful extra deck cards that exists in the game right now, arguably the most powerful, so putting it to 1 makes complete sense. Draco Face-Off to 1. I mean, Draco Face-Off is a really good card, but again, it just shows how much they messed up in terms of the way that they designed Pendulums, that a card like Draco Face-Off, which isn't OP, has to go to 1 because the deck is just too powerful otherwise, and the deck will still be good probably. So yeah, Draco Face-Off to 1, sure, okay. Reasoning to 1, I guess they didn't want to put E-Telly to 1 and Reasoning to 2, which would have been what most people were expecting. They knew that if they put E-Telly to 1, then Cosmo would be significantly less powerful, so they thought, how can we hit Cosmo sufficiently without putting E-Telly to 1? And they decided Reasoning. Fair enough. Reasoning to 1. It is what it is. And I don't know, maybe they just didn't want Infernoids to be strong or something. I mean, like, Reasoning's a card that was cropping up a bit more in other decks, but it's not super strong. But whatever, again, I won't complain with it being at 1. It doesn't really mean much. It just hurts Cosmo a bit. And Upstart to 1. Man. When I found out Upstart was going to 1, I couldn't stop laughing. This is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Like Upstart to 1, that is unbelievable. It is it is actually wow. What a time to be alive when Upstart Goblin is at 1. It's and they put Allure to 2 in the same list. That's what's so funny, that like, you know what? Every deck having draw 1 is too powerful, but a couple of decks having draw 2 and banish 1 isn't too powerful. When part of Cupidity becomes released, every deck will have 3 of a draw 2 card. Card of Sanctity is already being released. You have so many indulgent draw cards, but no, Upstart's too powerful. And it really just shows where their priorities lie in terms of the competitive scene. Upstart only really presents you with a question of whether or not to play 37 or not. It's not. It's certainly not deserving to be at 1 in any capacity. Like, it's never gonna be you having a 37 card deck that's OP. It's everything else that the Upstart will very, very incrementally embellish upon by increasing the probability of you opening with a 3 off by like 1% or something. No, it's too powerful. You have to put it to 1. And I mean, like, this is the same as Chicken Gamers, because they knew that with the release of cards that they are going to release, that they're bringing more draw cards into the game, particularly again Cupidity, which is a generic draw card. They thought it would be a bit too much if you had all these different means of drawing that anyone could play. But Upstart to 1 is ridiculous. It's so funny. If super upstarts or ultra upstarts are cheap, I don't know why anyone would play hollow upstarts anyway. It's not something that you want to draw. The best place for upstart to be is the bottom 3 cards of your deck. But if they are cheap, because upstart won't be at 1 forever. When they ban Cupidity or put Cupidity to 1, then upstart will probably go to 3. But this is ridiculous. This is actually one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Again, what a time to be alive when Upstart is at 1. Then semi-limited, you got Debris, cool. Debris could be at 3 right now. It doesn't really mean anything. I'm not sure if this is compatible with any future support. There's dragon stuff, but none of it is really compatible with Debris. I mean, like, there are targets for Debris in the Blue Eyes deck, let's say, but you can't search the Debris. Maybe that's why they put Debris to 2. But I don't know. It's fine. Debris could have gone to 3, and I doubt it would have really mattered too much. Allure to 2. I mean, I like Allure. My thought that being at 1 was a bit deep. As for right now, BA could easily play 2 of it. Cosmo could easily play 2 of it. Like, Cosmo could quite easily just mitigate the loss of Upstart by playing 2 Allure. It seems like a weirdly timed decision, sure, but I don't have any complaints with Allure being to 2. It's not broken. Draw cards aren't broken generally. Only Pantheism is an example of a broken draw card, I feel, because it is just a raw +1. And obviously, like, Pot of Cupidity, and when that comes out, I'm Pot of Greed. Allure certainly isn't broken by virtue of design. Draw cards tend not to be broken by virtue of design. People made the mistake of thinking that draw cards are consistency cards. They aren't, except Upstart, which is apparently too broken. Has to go to 1. E-Telly, no one is surprised that E-Telly is on the list. I think the only surprise is that it's at 2. Most people were expecting it to go to 1. But no, it's at 2, so they still want Cosmo to be a deck, which is cool, because, you know, it just came out in Gold Series. It would have been a bit deep if they reprinted that stuff in Gold Series and then hit the deck. But that's exactly the type of thing that Konami would do, so E-Tally to 2. It's a bit of a light hit, I would say. Having 2 E-Tally and 1 Reasoning is much better suited to Cosmo than having E-Tally to 1 and Reasoning at 3. And also E-Tally to 2. I mean, it presents interesting deck building questions for decks that would play 3 E-Tally and 1 blue layer as part of the level 3 quantum engine. Will they still do that with only 2 E-Tally and 1 target? Maybe not. So 2 E-Tally is okay. It kind of hit every deck that used E-Tally, except Cosmo, and spared Cosmo. So they probably thought about that for a long time, and that was why they did that. They're no longer on the list. D-Mock. I don't know, has D-Mock gone in errata or something? We'll see how that one. Tragoedia. I was actually thinking about Tragoedia the other day. Just why is this still at 2? Tragoedia could be at 12 and it wouldn't do anything. Yeah, easily should be a 3. Advanced Ritual Art. Don't really care. And Crush Card. Crush Card will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Maybe Burning Abyss will do something with it, but it's a bit steep to just go from 1 to 3. But yeah, overall it's it's a funny list, funny list. I don't have any personal grievances with it. It's a good list for every deck other than Pepe, really. I mean, Pepe gets the biggest end of the shaft with this list. Monarch's a bit in E-Tally, just because now they might be forced to play the Squire variant or focus more heavily on the Squires, which makes the deck weaker to Velo. But who knows, they still might play the Quantums with just 2 E-Tally. Again, that's not really my concern. Cosmo, although this looks like it's a list that hit Cosmo, it actually probably favors Cosmo the most. Well, I won't say the most, because it would favor Monarchs just as favorably, but but Cosmo not having Pepe as a prominent threat or being as strong as it was before definitely suits Cosmo. And again, Cosmo was spared getting really hit hard. They could have put E-Tally to 1, which would have really hurt the deck, but they didn't. Could have put a bunch of other stuff to 1, like Dark Destroyer, which, you know, they didn't like semi-limit Cosmo Town or anything. A bunch of other things that they could have done, which they just didn't, because they wanted the deck to be the best deck. They've been desperate for Cosmo to be the best deck for so long, but they couldn't do nothing. So yeah, Reasoning's at 1. Yeah, E-Tally, you lost a copy of E-Tally, but I think that Cosmo players will look at this and think, well, it could have been much worse, and will relish the fact that Pepe got the absolute shaft with this list. And even Allure to 2, that could be relevant. Yeah, I guess every other deck. I mean, I've been playing Water recently. Water did get hit with the Norden to 1. I can't even lie, but then again, not entirely, because with Norden to 1, you may see other decks running less instant fusion. Certainly, the only reason why I would say Mermail should run 3 instant fusion even with Norden at 1 is because just resolving the 1 Norden is so powerful in Water. Like, each copy of instant fusion, assuming that you, well, back when Norden was at 3, each copy of instant fusion was just make a rank 4 and add a Sea Serpent from your deck to your hand. It's very powerful. But for other decks, they might not feel so inclined to run more instant fusion, because it isn't as powerful in effect in other decks. You get the most out of it in Water. So other decks running less instant fusion is good for Water, because then they don't have an instant dweller. A lot of the time, as a Water player, you have to worry about the fact that they can just top deck a pay 1k, make dweller. And now that might not be the case. So you can look at it either way. I would say that this deck it was what was expected for water. That there isn't any explicit water hit, which is fine. And Norden to 1, yeah, it sucks, but you'll take it with everything else, bearing in mind that every other deck got more specific hits, except for Monarchs really, but the Telly is a relevant hit for Monarchs. And Crush Card to 3 is actually kind of relevant for Monarchs as well. So we'll just blitz all the Monarchs out of their hand. I'd say that Burning Abyss probably gets the most out of this list. It's clearly a deck that they're trying to push with the release of Beatrice, Crush Card to 3, Allure to 2. They're all things that favor the Burning Abyss deck. Sure, they lose one of their engines without the E-tallies. Yeah, that's probably true. Although they can just play like 2 to 3 Ghost Ogre and 2 E-tally. So instead of 1 layer, 1 Ghost Ogre, 3 E-tally, 5 cards. Just 3 Ghost Ogre, 2 E-tally. It's also 5 cards. If you still want either just getting a free level 3 for rank 3 or I guess one of the reasons why they would be more inclined to do that is because it outs Flying Sea, which is relevant. Having ways to play around Flying Sea is relevant if you just get a Ghost Ogre from the deck. But on the whole, Burning Abyss will be very happy with this list. They weren't really hit at all. And Crush Card to 3 is quite relevant. It's not infinitely relevant, admittedly, but I'm not sure how I feel about Crush Card to 3. But yeah, those are my general thoughts on the list. Is it a good list? It's a funny list. It's not the worst, but like, why is Upstart 1? Why is Upstart 1? This is how Konami's gonna end up destroying Yu-Gi-Oh! Is by taking the good old cards that people like having in the game and removing them to make room for their much more powerful equivalents that will polarize the game. Upstart by no means polarize the game. Even if you have a format where every deck is playing 3, that's not at all polarizing. It's just draw what I get. Upstart is a card that you don't even want to draw. You just the best place for Upstart to be is on the bottom of your deck. It's crazy. But now we'll be seeing 39 card decks. That'll be the crazy thing. But yeah, that was just my general thoughts. I may do more Yu-Gi-Oh videos if ever I feel like it. But DN's being a bit silly. But yeah, I thought I'd just do a reaction to this. So yeah, again, thanks to this guy for posting it in a manner that's easier for me to film. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you around.